went for the hit stick. I shouldn't have gone for hit stick.
Oh my god!
Oh god. They're on the...
Oh Jesus! Let's not fluff around. Yeah, man.
I'll show you some steezing.
Dude, I'll show you my fucking dick. I mean, what? Who said that?
Great recording.
There's a chance we could fuck.
Well, that too.
Yeah, baby.
Boy. Haha, boy.
Bye.
Hurry up, so that way you can get on games.
Alright, man, sounds good.
Okay, see you, buddy.
See it.
Bye. I was holding that in for a minute.
Oh.
What?
I could tell.
Yeah, you could hear the. Alright, yeah, okay.
Alright.
Yes, it is the fucking call heads. Hey! Fucking sound like a fucking.
Such a fucking dad sneeze right there.
Can we make this like a crossover episode? Where we do our Minecraft. Where we do our Minecraft, right? And then we also talk about. Oh, okay. And then we also talk about the subject at hand. Because I want to kind of get your input on it. That's that being said, welcome everybody. Oh, Ernest, I actually have a present for you, buddy. Here you go.
Yeah. You put it in my ass.
I put it. So for this IveBeanThinkin episode, the phrase, or I guess the actual like word that I had was too high of expectations, or just expectations in themselves. You know what I mean? And so like the one phrase I always heard with expectations, it's the only resentment that's premeditated. Does that make sense?
Kinda, you know.
You know, because to me, expectations, like you could have some good expectations, but there's a lot of people out there, you know, and I'm sure myself included at some point in my life, that the expectations were a little too far-fetched, and then it just lowers, it lowers your morale because you understood, you know, because you think you're not worth a shit for that expectation, when in reality, you just set the bar a little too high for where you are in your life in that moment.
Oh yeah, no, I totally understand that.
You know, so like a couple of the bulletin points I had for it was like how it affected, you know, myself at a young age, but maybe even yourself at a young age, you know, having maybe expectations that we thought, you know, hey man, I'm going to have kids at this age, I'm going to have, you know, a wife at this age, I'm going to be doing this at this age. Not realizing that maybe sometimes, you know, people's minds change and, you know, and things don't actually work out the way it does, but you don't have to necessarily expect that to be, you know, a bad outcome. It could actually just be, you know, in a way, the proper outcome. You know what I mean? And and one thing that I've always noticed that comes in conjunction when people start having these problems with expectations, and especially like the preset ones, is people that have anxiety, like a high level of anxiety because of those expectations. I just don't know what your opinion is on that, as far as like when you were a kid, you know, what the expectations were. Because for me, it was like, I remember I had a notepad that said I wanted to be, you know, I wanted to at least go to this place. I wanted to be able to graduate with, you know, with honors and stuff like that. But I knew I wasn't that going to be that big of a kid as far as school was concerned. Because I just never gave a fuck about school.
Yeah.
But as I got older, you know, and those expectations didn't hit, I just knew that you know, I was setting myself up for basically a rude awakening in a way.
I didn't have, like, as a kid, I think my expectations of myself became a lot higher as I became an adult, just because it became more real to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a playground
like
no
when
more.
I was a kid, I wasn't telling myself like, oh, I have to get these grades, because again, I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
It's not that I didn't give a shit, but I just didn't, like, care. Like, I knew in 10 years from freshman year of high school, it wouldn't matter what I got in fucking
high school
physical science.
Yeah.
first period science. Like I knew it wouldn't matter. But
Yeah, it's the
then I got
classes that
older.
were.
That's where the expectations for me became higher, and that's where that's where like, cause
Shit
yeah, you're
got
like
real.
yeah, shit got real. Anxiety spikes up, and I'm like, well, why am I doing that? And it's like, oh, it's because I'm expecting, myself to build essentially Rome in a day when I have nothing but fucking plastic tools.
Yeah. Seeing for me, it was the opposite for me, right? Like I went through all middle school and like the first couple years of high school, getting those straight A's, maybe a B here and there, knowing that I had maybe a future in some sort of class. Um,
Mm,
but it was one of those like situations where the whole going back to one of the earlier self-aware Sundays in this instance, where I talked about my depression and how that stuff kind of affected me at a younger age. I stopped giving a fuck, and I noticed how my grades were diminished, and I wouldn't be getting into the colleges that I wanted, or maybe even setting myself up
mm,
for the future that I wanted. And the learning on the fly to accept that expectation was going to have to change was a real like punch in the mouth to me. Like that, how they always say like you'll taste the blood on the real first punch you ever take or you ever get hit with. Like
mm,
that one was like one of those wake up calls where I was like, okay, like I gotta stop fucking moping around. Yeah, I'm not gonna fucking go to college and do the shit that I wanted to originally. This whole YouTube thing kind of like was like, hey, like this is actually kind of fun, and it's a good way for me to like in a way alleviate a lot of stress that I might have during actual work. And so when I expected myself to go to work at where I'm working now, um, and only be like the lower tier positions,
mm,
I think that's where my expectations started like shifting in my mind. Where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go with the flow, and I'm gonna allow, if you want to call it God's timing, to allow me to grow instead of me maybe putting those pre-assumpted um, expectations out there, thinking I was going to be, maybe a high or a college scholar at this point and wanting to go, do all these other things. Like now I can just have my own avenue. I'm doing what I feel like is pretty well for my life, and I actually get to still do those communication skills because I still have to fucking talk to
mm.
people on a daily basis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think that's what's been the funnest part about it for me is like everything. Sure, everything changed in a way, but
Mm.
maybe it changed in a way for the better for me and not
Yeah.
worse. Maybe not fall into that depression spiral as bad, and not allowed me
Mm.
to, under appreciate what I've already done with my life. On the free time to do a lot of the shit that I do, and I wouldn't have met some of you motherfuckers with it. Like that's the crazy part for
Yeah.
me too. It's like, if I would still been that shy kid because I didn't want to do those communication skills, like I wouldn't have met anybody over COD. Like I wouldn't have met you, like Austin, all those motherfuckers, because
Mm.
like I would have just been in that fucking lobby, just fucking quiet as shit.
Quite
Yeah,
a shit, or
or muted.
not even having the time to do it.
Yeah, and so it's allowed me to have an avenue of reach in a way to where it's been kind of fun to see the opposite side of the coin. Like, sure, life didn't
Mm.
go the way I wanted it to, but it's been going pretty good, to not say the least. You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm kind of like in a similar like thing with that because with me switching my major from, I mean, when I first got to school, I was uh, athletic training,
Yeah,
and I went into physical therapy, and then occupational, and then I went into teaching, and now I'm doing the whole sports broadcasting thing. Um, like I feel like mine is like that's where I'm getting overwhelmed right now.
yeah. The
Is
whole
like
fact that you've
with
switched
all
it
of
so
that
much.
happening, and with the fact that like I'll be done next May, like, this time next year, I'll be in the whole college. I'll be graduated for a month. I'll be looking for jobs. I might not even be living in Idaho anymore. I don't know.
Yeah,
Um, So that's where my expectations of myself, because I'm thinking back of like when I was a kinesiology major,
Yep.
and the expectations that they have for you in that particular major, vastly different than essentially a communication major. Um, but I still hold myself to the expectations of a kinesiology major, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Just because that's all I knew for 5 years. Um, so when things don't go my way, that's where the overwhelmed and the anxiety comes from.
Yeah.
I've always just kind of like bottled up, held things to my own because I'm like I don't want to bother anybody else with my issues or nothing like that.
Yeah.
So I think I hide. That's where with my expectations of myself is to just
Keep it
like
to
I
yourself.
just hide it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
So like
fuck, bro. You know what's fucking crazy is the next bullet point is literally this: the weight on your shoulders feeling that mentally can drain and drive somebody.
mm, no, 100%, man.
Because it's
Like
it's an accuracy to a point. Because like for me, right? Of course, I take care of my mom. You know this. I mean, most of the viewers would
mhm,
know this. Um, Taking care of my mom, especially ever since I was 17, when I financially took over the whole situation. Once I started kind of
mhm,
doing some more independent stuff away from my pops and away from my brothers and sisters. They do a great job. I'm not gonna lie. They all do their part. But when I took that, the whole burden on myself, saying I'm gonna be the financial one responsible. I'm gonna, if I can do it all on my own, I'm going to. There's been so many
mhm.
times this month, like there were so many times where I'm like, no man, I got it. Like, no, I got it, like because I
Oh,
expect that out of myself.
oh yeah, no, 1,000%. I'm with you on that. I do that shit often. I mean, with my bills evenly, and there are things where I'm like,
Let-
like I might not have the money. Like I know I don't have the money, but I'm going to pretend I do,
Yeah.
and be like, no, no, no. Like I'll trust me, I'll get this.
Yeah, and
And
then it kind of bites you in the ass, but instead of
it
maybe
bites
just
me in the ass
admitting
because
it, you're over there fucking cowering in it for a second, just thinking, belittling yourself in a
yeah,
way
and
because you didn't think you had it.
like I and I just bottle that to myself. Like I don't want any
The boy's worried about something, but at the end of the day,
no.
it's one of those things that it's the primitive machismo we all have in us, as far for our side, like the men's side of things. Like it's the primitive machismo
Mm,
that we all come with to want to be first in a way, or want to be the independent style that we need to be. But it's not. It's weirdly not supposed to be that way. Like we're wired that way because that's survival. But
yeah.
we're in such a world that survival isn't anymore like survival of the fittest. Like it's
No,
just it's supposed to be the
it's not
survival
like
of the
it's
smartest.
the yeah, yeah, yeah. It's not like, like 30, 40 years ago where it's like, oh yeah, no, the man has to be like standards,
Yeah.
right? It's not like that anymore. And I still feel like people are still kind of connected to that but don't know how to disconnect from it.
Biggest thing for me was always I like how I've just been running around in circles. You're probably actually doing something. The content's probably a lot better. The best
I
thing is
I ran to an area, saw that it was an open field,
I've
and
just been
then
running
just ran
around.
back to our
Oh.
house.
I've just been running around in like the
Killing
open
chickens
field.
and shit.
Oh, bro, I've been doing the same thing. I killed some sheep and then I
I've
was just
been
like standing around.
I've been trying to find a place to mine and I fucking can't.
Kid that was in the family that was the best at math, right?
hmm
And so
hmm
everybody expected me to go into some sort of engineering, and so that was the fucking goal from when I was a kid. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go into. My mind was going into medical engineering, and creating devices that could help change the lives of people one day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I was like, that's what I'm gonna be
Because you
focused
wanted to
on.
go to Utah Tech, right? Or
Uh,
like some there's
University of
a
Utah.
tech school. Okay.
So yeah, I wanted to go to the U because at the time they actually had a really good medical department. Not that they don't now, but it's like at the time it was one of the most
hmm
top notch. When I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Same thing with UCLA. Like those schools at the time, for being something that I could afford with my scholarships and stuff, that was going to be the ones I wanted to go to. And
Mm-hmm.
but as I got older, I was like, man, I like math, right? Like I might want to be a teacher, but then I got thinking about it. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, man, I don't like, okay, I have a master's degree in this shit, for teaching. Like, really? Like, and then, but then I got thinking about it. I was like, oh, I could have maybe gone to like college teaching or just, something, if I would have actually put my mind to it. But that's where, this whole expectations thing started going to is like, you start diminishing maybe the college accomplishments you have now, for the accomplishments you could have had back then or in that moment.
Applying, we're doing the SATs, and I'm going to apply to here, and I'm going to apply here. I'm
Yeah.
going to do this. I'm like, oh shit, like I have to do that. And then, and my grades weren't the best, and I
Yeah.
think my parents knew that too. Like going in, like we all kind of started giving a shit about my schooling at the same time. Now, did my parents go a little overboard with it? Yes, because the way like they have, and I still hold this. This is a really bad habit that I'm trying to break of an expectation of myself. Where if I, so like the grading scale F, right?
Yeah.
Um, so to encourage my GPA to go up, my grading scale in my parents' eyes was basically anything lower than a C was failing
Yeah.
because it wasn't going to bring my GPA up. And so like I'd come home and I'd be like, yeah, I got like a 76 on a math test, and then I would get grounded.
Yeah, and then you're thinking you're over there being a fucking failure because, in their eyes, you're not amounting to what they expect of you.
Exactly.
That's the whole other
And
expectation that, bless my mom's heart. You know, my dad said, dale gas, fucking do whatever the fuck you want. As long as you're not getting in trouble, fucking, have a good life. Just be safe, right? I
hmm
don't care what you do. You could go be a college major. You could go, go race a car. Go, do whatever you want. As long as you're happy and as long as you're, proud of what you're doing, like, bro, do whatever you want. My
hmm
mom was the one that, like every kid, she wanted every kid to at least go to college. So
hmm
I did what, 2 semesters? And I was like, and then I had a fucking realization in myself, because the expectations kind of kicked in. I might have actually gone into kind of what you're talking about, like sports, broadcasting, or
hmm
something like that, which I could still do it now if I wanted to. Fucking nobody's stopping me. Um,
That's true.
but it's also one of those things where I'm like, I really don't want to be involved in sports that much in my life.
Yeah.
Because that was the
Yeah.
other expectation that was set upon me. Is like everybody's like, man, this kid's the big boy. He's gonna be our run stopper. Like I was quick for my feet, but if someone knew how to fucking hit my hips, I was done. I was on the ground,
hmm
fucking, not being anything. But put me in soccer, and I was a fucking great defender. Just nobody wanted to take a chance on a fat boy, which is a disgrace in my eyes. But hey, that's a conversation for another
Yeah.
day. Uh, but the expectations that I had set upon myself, especially coming out of school,
hmm
and not realizing that I was gonna finish college because I just couldn't see myself doing it. The shift that I had to create myself, to not keep burying myself in a way, that was a whole nother level of finding myself as a person.
Yeah.
Um, because you have to admit to yourself that you're a fucking failure in a way. But
hmm
the one thing that I've always liked about those kind of notions is like I might have failed, but I don't know if you ever heard of. I think his name was CT. No, not CT. He's one of those motivational speakers, but he's It's not fucking. What the fuck? I'd have to find his name again. But the guy says, you know why I love losing? Because every loss is just getting me closer to that one win I need to prove that
hmm
everything was worth it. Right?
hmm
Like, um, if for some of the people that have been watching the channel for a minute too, they know that I was a part of the team called Avian. The kind of how I started really kind of grinding my YouTube into what it is now. You know, kind of perfecting the, I guess, the comedic styles that I throw into these videos and stuff. When I took over that team and became, you know, the primary owner of the team, and it was a very challenging time in my life where I expected myself to be able to manage that team, manage the business you know I was running, manage you know a life where maybe I wasn't as happy because of everything that was going on. Like you know my girlfriend had just passed away. Like shit was just not right. Like in my life, on a personal level, that where I should have, realistically, I should have lowered my expectations, knowing that I needed time to heal.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I did was I put more on my plate, thinking that if I you know raised my expectations to finish those things, that I'd be a lot better off.
Yeah.
When it was the complete fucking opposite, like I just ruined everything you know that I was trying. And so we you know we had given up on Avian, and I had given my apologies to the team and let them all go on their way. Gone into using Phoenix Gaming. And I still have both designs on my laptop now because, you know, I just never fucking touch my laptop anymore. Uh, but I was thinking about it the other day and I was like, you know, that was supposed to be an expectation of rising from the ashes, rising from the
Mm-hmm.
past failures and going through it. But
Yeah.
the cool thing about a Phoenix is it never technically dies, right? It could fall down and rise as many times as it needs to. And that's why you remember how we were talking about my chest tat
Mm-hmm.
and how I wanted to do originally like a panther head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually switching it to a phoenix because it correlates a lot more with the things that I'm putting on my chest with it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, well, fuck yeah, panther head doesn't really make sense here. Oh, okay, I'm fearless, but yeah, you know, it doesn't make sense with the other things that had been going on in my life to what you know what's on my body already. But I was like, the Phoenix makes more sense because you know I've had to rise from past mistakes, and you know and realize that you know things happen.
Mm-hmm.
Things don't always go to plan. That's the biggest thing. You know, we set up a plan for ourselves, but don't allow ourselves to realize that those plans could change in an instant, right?
Oh yeah.
I think that's the problem that I've seen with so many people in my life is that a lot of them were like, well, I went to college and you know, and everybody's disappointed in me, and I'm disappointed in myself because I didn't finish this. And I'm like, are you happier now than you were while you were in college? Yeah. Well, then why are you disappointed?
You
Like,
succeeded.
you succeeded. You're happy. You're doing something maybe that's off the course of what you wanted, but you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the way I've always seen it. You know, like everybody that always expected me to like drop the weight, you know, which one day, who knows, I might fucking do it. But at the same time, like I'm happy the way I am. Sure, it's not maybe the healthiest alternative out there, but I've
Yeah, but
always been
you're
a guy.
happy.
Yeah, I've been the guy that's always been happy. Like I'll take
Yeah. And
happiness over fucking, you know, over being depressed in a body any day.
yeah. Like you, as long as you're happy, like it's you. It's not, you know, Joe Random over here.
Yeah,
Like it's you. It's your life.
you know, and I think
You
that's
know,
what a
do
lot of
what you
people.
want.
I think that's what a lot of people kind of fail at as far as their expectations too, is that they don't realize
Mm.
like it's your fucking life, bro. Like you don't have to listen to you know to Becky to fucking you know Mrs. So and so from fucking school that your life should have been this or
Yeah.
should have been that. Like no, it's what you're gonna set yourself up for. But don't expect
Yeah.
yourself to like if something happens to where things go off course, like don't immediately think that you're already failing your life. Like it's not gonna be that at all.
No, like don't beat yourself up over it.
Yeah.
Like even especially if it is like a close one, like you know, a family member, like your mom, dad, whatever, who says like
Fuck
I
man, like you didn't
was
do what you
expecting
wanted
you
to
to
do.
do
Yeah.
this. Like why didn't you finish school?
Yeah.
Well, I just wasn't happy with it. I, you know, it's all about I. Like
Yeah.
you got to be selfish sometimes.
And I think that's where the biggest thing is, like, there's moments to be selfless, right? That's a great point. Thank you. Like, there's a point to be selfless in a lot of things in life, but there's also a point where you just gotta be selfish and just it's me against the fucking world out here.
Yeah,
Like,
like
it's I gotta do what's best for me in that moment.
yeah, like you gotta just not give a fuck about what someone else is expecting out of you, because guess what? I don't care what.
Yeah.
That just comes with age too, I think. Like I didn't realize this until probably like a year or two ago. Like I don't
So why are
care.
you and I still alive?
Like I just don't care.
Yeah.
Like I stopped caring what other people thought of me
Yeah.
and what they expected of me.
Yeah.
Like I would be scared. Like when I changed my major the first time, I didn't tell my dad for a year
Yeah.
because I know what he was expecting out of me. He was expecting me to go through uh, the physical therapy program,
Yeah.
be a doctor, make all this money. I didn't want to tell him, yeah, I'm actually gonna do. A, at the time, I thought I was gonna do something that 3 times less, but I thought I was gonna be happier doing it. I didn't tell him for a year, and then I didn't tell him when I changed it again to the sports broadcasting.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him for, I think that time like 3 months later after I switched. Like I had already started classes, and he was like, "Oh, how's classes?" And I'm like, "They're good. I enjoy them now because I switched." He
Yeah.
was like, "Oh,
He's like, what?
yeah." He's like, "When did you do that?" And I'm like, "The end of last semester." He's like, "That was in May, and we're in September."
Yeah. But it
And
brings up a
so,
good point where it's like, at the end of the day, you had to look out for yourself. And you knew at one point I'm going to have to be confronted about it, but I'm ready to be confronted about it.
yeah.
Like, sorry, Pops. Like, I know we talked about it this way, but it's not happening that way. Went back to my job at the time. Like, I was like, and the guy tells me, what'd you learn? And I told him, I learned that the grass isn't always greener. Which that phrase
Mhm.
to me has always been kind of like would oxymoronic be an oxymoron in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily that it's not always greener. It's just that you can't control what makes it greener. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like like the whole you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it.
Mhm.
Like I'm going like that's what I was expecting. I was gonna lead the horse to the water. You know, he seemed pretty
And the
fucking
horse was gonna
thirsty.
drink.
Yeah, he seemed pretty fucking thirsty, but he didn't want to drink no
Seemed pretty
water.
thirsty, fucker.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm like a risk taker for everything, but when it comes to like a weird opportunity that I feel like I can make work, I've always tried it.
Mhm.
Um, Case in point, fucking YouTube. I'm not saying I'm fucking rich and shit, or I'm making millions off this fucking shit. But I know there's a select few people out there, that support the channel enough to where I have an extra, a little bit of income at the end of the month to be able to actually do shit with this shit, and that's what makes it
Yeah.
fun. I'm playing games, I'm recording games with the boys, and I'm playing, things or games that I feel like people would actually enjoy to watch or enjoy to listen to. And that was the biggest like expectation subversion for me
Mhm.
because I went into it knowing full on people are gonna fucking make fun of me for it. People are gonna fucking say I'm not gonna fucking do it. I'm not gonna be able to fucking do anything with it. And yeah, here we are. Just especially over the last 2 years where I really started like finding a niche to this.
Mhm.
Where I've actually been able to enjoy the content and the stuff that I've been, able to record.
Mhm.
But I just remember, when I first started it, I was like, man, I expect myself to be a pub stomper, I expect myself to like only do like high kill games, no bullshit fucking videos. Like I'm gonna be talking like all these like phase members and shit, where most of them are just fucking bullshitting into the camera, but they're still getting kills. Point, I think for the viewers, the whole expectation thing is one of those like you can have expectations. I'm not telling you not to, But
No,
just
no, no,
be,
yeah.
just be wary that like if something doesn't always go the way it's supposed to, don't don't like beat yourself up for it if it was out of your control. Like
Yeah,
if you
don't beat
expected
yourself up
yourself,
for it.
yeah, like if you expected
Don't
yourself to be
diminish.
a fucking president, but yet you went over there and started committing crimes, like that's your own damn fault, bro. Like you,
And don't beat yourself up on it. Like, don't be too hard. Like, if you were expecting yourself to be, something and it didn't pan out, like, that's okay.
yeah,
Like, the hardest part about it is just understanding that it's okay. That life changes, expectations change. Sure, you didn't go into whatever job you got, but think of the other avenues that you could go down now. Think of
yeah,
what you've learned, and even if you don't want to go down that same path, there's different ways. There's not just one way to like. There's no rule, right? Like there's no correct map,
no,
right, to go about how you want to live your life. Like, there's a bunch of crazy twists and turns and loop-de-loops and shit, you know.
yeah,
And everyone will find it. It's just you just got to stay, you know,
stay
you
the
just got to
path.
stay on top of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we live in such a, how do you word it? We live in such an open world as far as so many avenues to have that the end all be all doesn't have to be that end all be all.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like take it from, from myself, a fucking college dropout that, now works as a fucking manager for automotive. Like shit didn't pan out the way I was expecting it, but I'm happy, to be doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And especially with this YouTube stuff on the side, like I remember getting messages on those stuff over Sunday videos on Instagram and shit like that when people would see the uploaded post. Like, man, that video really touched my heart. Like, things like that. The way I've been setting up my videos was an expectation to myself to one day, be able to look back on these and see not my growth, but the growth of how I've affected people.
Yeah.
Um, I've always told, I guess, one thing that my one of my aunties and my sister tells me all the time. I always talked about as a kid that I wanted to affect lives, in any way possible. What scared me about that was like any way possible. What fucking I'm gonna go fucking like what am
Fucking
I doing?
murder people? Shit.
Yeah, like am I fucking hurting people? Like what do you mean? And my sister was like, no, no, no. She's like, what you were, she's like, you didn't really, because I didn't really know the English well, right? Like, of course, I speak pretty good English now. But it was one of those things like as a kid, like I would want to say something to
Mhm.
like impact somebody, like because I had to grow up with my mom being sick. Like that was one thing that I from day one from my memories, like my mom's been that way. So
Mhm.
I've always had a really good outlook on life as far as like when to not expect the unexpected. Like you can't go into
Yeah.
something knowing that it's all gonna work out in the end. There's always got to be some sort of catch in life. Um, as much as we don't want to think about it that way, like it's just the way sometimes the cookie crumbles. Like I think the biggest robber of expectations, now that we're kind of just touching up on the end of it, is the biggest robber of expectations is reality versus reasoning, right?
Yes.
Like because
Yeah.
you'll always reason with yourself that it shouldn't have happened, they shouldn't have done this. But the reality of all that is, it happened because ain't no way. You're not stopping, nature. You're not stopping, stuff that's out of your control. It's out of your control for a reason.
Mhm. There's
Um,
no other way that could have that this outcome could have happened. Like,
yeah.
there's a reason why it happened.
hmm Like as much as we don't see the
In a
dominoes that fell into
sense.
place, like it was a domino effect. Everything in life has a domino
Mhm.
effect for the most part. Sure, there's those one random stuff that like could happen, like a sporadic in situation or something. But for the most part, everything has a like a domino effect as far as it was caused by something, and it had a reaction, and that reaction caused the chain of events to happen, right?
Hmm.
But a lot of times people don't realize, like, when you're getting your expectations too high and then you're mad at yourself because you didn't meet those expectations, you're the one being the catalyst to a lot of those, you know, to those moments when you just have to realize that shit changes. You will change in life, especially for the younger viewers. Like, fuck, some people actually reach the potential that they want, that they have, right? Like a lot of the football players that I had an opportunity to meet a couple, or college guys that went on to the NFL. I think, Ernest, I think you've met some people too. A lot of those guys had those
Hmm.
expectations as a kid, but I know for a fact a lot of those guys also had a plan B in case of anything, because
Oh yeah.
it's such a one in a million shot. But the
Yeah.
expectation was,
Not
if I make it, I make it.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, statistically speaking, like, like talking about like just college athletes in general, it's only like less than 1% go on to make it professional in their respective sport.
Yeah.
So, everyone has a plan B if it doesn't pan out.
And if you don't have a plan B, like, that's okay too. Like, I know some people just throw all their chips on the table.
Hmm.
And good for you. Like, I'm not bashing on motherfuckers that do that. Like, that's
No.
everybody has a way they want to do their life. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. But I've always tried to have a plan B. Even if I have a certainty that I'm going to be in the position I'm in, I always had a plan B
Yeah.
because I cannot
I
control the
always
unexpected.
thought of something.
Yeah. Um, there was a old phrase I remember hearing where someone was telling me, you can be prepared for the unexpected, but the unexpected will always catch you um, unexpectedly. Because as much as we want to prepare for things that we think we can realistically, hold off on,
Hmm.
like, that is the furthest thing from the truth. And also, I am lagging pretty heavy right now. I don't know if that's just your side, but I am lagging pretty heavy.
I mean, you're cutting in and out every once in a while, but it's like maybe once every 5, 10 minutes,
Oh, okay.
like a split second, so I don't even really notice.
Yeah. For anybody wondering why Ernest's voice might be a little robotic at times, I have a hotspot going on while we record because I am switching internet providers in hopes that maybe I can stream too. See, another expectation. I'm hoping to
I am
stream, but
also actively downloading a update for the show.
of course.
I just paused it,
But
didn't realize.
yeah. But I think we really nailed the case in point as far as that whole um,
Hmm.
of what we've been talking about. Like,
Yeah.
it's the whole expectation versus reality thing to me, or the realization versus reality. Like, realizing that things are gonna go awry, realizing that things are not gonna go as expected, is the reality of life. You can have expectations for milestones in life, but just be wary to not always hold that against yourself when something does not go your way.
Yeah.
Take it from myself. I'm sure Ernest could speak for himself. You know, the avenues in which we are now, I'm sure were not the avenues we were expecting to take for life. I know for a fact mine wasn't.
Oh God, no! I didn't expect when I moved out when I moved out here 8 years ago, I didn't expect to still be here in 8 years, let alone, managing a gym.
Yeah. And my part was, always managing a fucking automotive business. Like, I never saw myself doing that. I always thought myself would be, in a lower position for most of my career because I always heard it was hard to make your way, in a lot of corporate ladders.
Hmm.
Give and take, mine is a little bit more independent than corporate, but there's a lot of things we do like corporate. And so I always thought that my attitude towards life would not get me the position in life in that I would seek because I have a kind and calm demeanor because I know what it's like to live in a life without it. And if I know someone else is struggling out there with it or with something, I'm not going to be the one that adds to that pain or that sorrow. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and so I think that sometimes, like in my position of management, that isn't always the best thing. You do need to know when to be a hard ass or when to be stern in some points.
Yeah.
But I'm also not going to change my ways just because of a position. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, I'm not gonna.
Just because
Like,
you expect something out of me does not mean I'm going to change my core values for it.
Hmm. Yeah. I like to think of myself as, like, a good boss, but I'm not going to. I'm not gonna, you know,
Yeah.
try hard to be an asshole.
Yeah.
Like, I'm only going to be an asshole when I need to be.
Yep. And even for me, like, it's not necessarily that I want to be. Oh, I'm dead.
God damn it.
What? What happened? um, because there's just certain aspects to every business. You got to learn when to actually, pull that. I guess that facade in a way. But I'm also not the kind of dude that's gonna be sitting there thinking to myself like, I have to be this way 24/7 or they're not gonna respect me.
Hmm.
Like I'm letting you know, my business and my work ethic speak for myself. I don't need my character to speak for itself. Sorry, everybody, we kind of got off topic here. But I think as far as what we're doing on camera, I think that's really all we need to nail home. Um, for both the I've been
That's our house.
thinking and for the I've been thinking and for the CocoBean episode, I think we've basically reached everything we want to talk about. We appreciate you guys for listening. Ernest, thank you for being a guest uh, on the I've been thinking, and of
Of
course,
course,
thank you
thanks
for
for having me.
yeah. And then of course we got our little fucking CocoBean episode in too, so it kind of worked out in the end.
Two.
Yeah, these guys, yeah, two for winner. Kind of like when I bag out that torta and she brings home her baddie.
Excuse me.
Certified torta pounders.
Dude, you've only been talking about tortas for like the last month.
What can I say? They got me going, bro. Fucking tortas. And I ain't talking about the sandwich.
That's a low-key a bar.
Bars. I got my paper out like I'm in the bar. Oh, you talking shit, bitch?
That's some dirt.
Dirt in my furt as I go in skirt.
What the fuck?
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm gonna say the N-word.
Do it. Do it. Do it.